Good afternoon to those who listen. It's December 4th, 2025. It's 3:23 p.m. and this is Tim Pool. Why isn't it showing up? But anyway, the latest video about the solar storm that just happened supposedly is now causing a 20-year high for flight radiation. So planes, the radiation up, where the planes are flying is at a 20-year high. So this reminds me of what's my dream was, a prophetic dream I had 8 years ago, back in 2017. And I think this could be what is happening. So I'll play a little bit of this, and this will explain what's going on. So what I think is going on is the magnetosphere is being weakened by all these solar storms, and even if they're not huge X flares and CMEs, it's still, the magnetosphere is damaged enough that that even smaller ones coming through is producing a lot of radiation. So coming to my dream, I was in Colorado, and I was looking out my back door porch, and it was a normal day, sunny day, and everybody was just, acting normal like they should. And people were walking their dogs, and kids were playing and stuff. And all of a sudden, an alert came on the TV that said we are in a G3 level solar storm, which, we get those quite often. But it was different in the dream that I had, because even though it was only a 3 out of a 5, it was still enough that the announcers were warning. They said, get indoors immediately, or you may be killed or hurt, I guess, from the radiation. It was weird too, because I didn't really know anything about space weather and all the CMEs and the flares and all that stuff. Didn't really know nothing about that, really. And so in the dream, I saw the alerts coming across the screen, and it said you have 30 minutes to get indoors, or you could get hurt or die. And so then I went back out on the porch, and I'm yelling down to the people, get indoors now! The big warning happened. And that was pretty much it, but it was like, how would just a G3 cause injuries and death unless the magnetosphere was severely damaged and, the radiation was going straight through down to Earth, down to ground level. So, and there's somebody mentioned that too on a video, saying that ground level radiation is like 2,000 times worse than it used to be. And this supposed radiation that's in the where the planes are at, is like twice as bad as it used to be, which is still, bad. But all right, just here we go.
I have a question for you. I'd like you to comment and share your answers. In your lifetime, in the lower 48, how many times have you seen the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis?
Twice for me.
One thing that is very strange right now is that we have had, I believe, 5 events in 2 years.
Yeah, it's insane.
And this is supposed to be extremely rare. Something that happens only a handful of times every century. Now we are getting new reports that the aurora will be visible again across the United States, not too far south like last time, like we saw a month ago. Still, seemingly very rare, but happening with increased frequency. Now, what does this mean? Well, according to your mainstream scientists, it's just peak solar activity. And the magnetosphere, which protects us from the solar activity, is, well, it's weakening. But it's all normal. Nothing to see here. Everyone calm down. But at the very least, I can entertain some potential hypotheses, theories. And one of these is that the great pole shift is coming. We are overdue. And when this happens, we will not be protected from solar activity, which is unusually strong. Or at least in comparison with our weak magnetic sphere, it seems unusually strong. This can send us back to the Stone Age or cripple the cripple global infrastructure for decades. I don't know how bad it will really get, but I think about all this climate change talk, the efforts that are being made, and I feel like I can connect these dots into a bigger picture of the elites are afraid there is a pole shift coming. Maybe not. Maybe it's all hubbub. Maybe it's just,
hubbub.
I don't know, we're bored and looking for something. Or maybe the signs are really there. Well, let's take a look at the latest breaking news. And again, you tell me, does this seem strange? The story I have for you today, opening this segment, flight radiation has reached a 20-year high during the recent solar outburst. And as Airbus has reminded us last week, we're not ready. Wait, what? Flight radiation at a 20-year high? Why are all of these stories popping up, but very few are actually connecting the dots? We've had cell network outages in Europe, in Puerto Rico.
It's the weakened magnetosphere.
And we have seen the aurora borealis at this time of year in this part of the country several times.
Yeah.
So maybe it's catastrophizing. Maybe this is just something that happens. Or maybe there's a reason why powerful elites are building bunkers in the mountains and prioritizing the expansion of alternative energy sources that can exist in areas where there's no access to oil, while at the same time investing everything in oil. What would the point be? They claim climate change. We got to get off oil. Yet many of these same people that are talking about the need for wind turbines and solar farms still utilizing and investing in oil. Or, I have a theory, if there were to be a great pole shift, or the big one they call it, a Carrington event size coronal mass ejection, just blasting our infrastructure, how would we restore power? If we can't pump the oil, how are we going to fuel our machines? Well, just so happens, thanks to these climate change advocates, we've been building alternate sources of energy which can be placed in areas where there's no oil to deliver energy, or an area where we could pump oil and restore our energy infrastructure if only we had existing energy to do it. That is, if we've got no...
Okay, well, he's going off somewhere else on this, but I just was thinking about that when, I've been hearing all these stories lately about the radiation is getting worse. And, so now it's, and this has been going on for a little while, for a couple of years, where it's not safe to fly, all the things happening with planes, where the engines are falling off and the wheels are falling off and doors are coming off and then, all these airlines are having problems with flights and they're delayed and canceled, and it's like, what's going on with with all these flights? It's like they're trying to scare people into not flying. So it seems kind of odd with all this stuff, but like he's saying, that they're not connecting the dots. They're just blaming whatever glitches or hackers or something like that, instead of what could possibly be the real problem, which could be the magnetosphere is weakening, and it's been weakening for a while. And even Mike from around the world is saying, once the magnetosphere is weakened enough, even small, like M-class flares and CMEs could wreak havoc. So what would happen if we had a huge X once the magnetosphere was weakened enough, it could knock out power for the whole entire world. So I don't know, my dream, it just reminded me of my dream. And I've put up many videos about my dream in the past, but now it seems like it's getting more and more possible where this could actually happen. How they would do that, something would have to happen, and then maybe some people died or something from too much radiation, and then they started putting out warnings, like the emergency broadcast system. How they warn you when there's certain things happening, and maybe they could do it something like that. That's how my dream was kind of like that. It was like one of those beep. This is a warning, but usually it's just a test. But but it would be something like that, and then they would have like levels, and they would show you, oh, this is a certain level, this, and this is what you need to do to take precautions. In my dream, it was just a level 3, but it was deadly. So I don't know. Thanks for watching. God bless.